All right, so welcome to 2024. I think in today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the best stocks to invest in 2024. Now, the thing about that is most people, when they look at the best stocks, they're looking for from the lows of 2023 all the way to the end of 2024. So that's kind of what you're looking for, is from the beginning of 2024, like January 1st or January 2nd in this case, all the way till the closing date of 2024. And that is the best appreciation that can happen. So the thing is that, remember, when you're really looking at investments, what you really want to do is actually spread your money and capital. If you don't spread your money and capital, you really are allocating in too much concentration of risk in one spot in one area. So although from a statistical standpoint or from a number standpoint, it's all nice to see, hey, from the lows here to the highs there, this stock made phenomenal returns. But in order to pick those, I mean, you're really just dealing with a coin toss and you have no idea. I mean, you're trying to figure out a few stocks that are going to perform the best out of, hundreds of stocks out there. So the thing is that I want you to remember what I'm looking at for in this list is just to give you an idea, an indication of, hey, some stocks that could perform well this year, not necessarily might be the best, but as long as you spread your money and capital, it could be ones to keep an eye on and watch. Because if you go in and actually look at spreading your money and capital, we've had Microsoft over here on 2023, looking at a weekly time frame, and that performance was right around 73%. So that's phenomenal and fantastic. And you can take a look at Nike here. Even though in 2023, this stock pretty much ended down about 16%, maybe 17%. But if you got it somewhere around September and noticed that it's starting to move higher, it still was up 34% for you because you didn't allocate your money all at the beginning. So even though a stock doesn't perform the best at the beginning, it could perform very well on the tail end of things or on the front half or even somewhere in the middle. So what's important to recognize is depending on your strategy, your system, your style, the things that you're doing, the money management tactics you're putting in, everybody is going to run things a little bit differently. And even though you're trying to find, hey, stocks that might perform well to the upside, there are also some people that like to trade short. So my point being here is that, take the things and concepts I mentioned here with a grain of salt. And as we look into some of these stocks, what I'm actually looking for is stocks that could perform fairly well. Do we know that one stock might perform 50%, another one 52%, or another one 58%? Big deal. A couple little percentage points, we don't know. What we're trying to do is find some values, find some stocks that could perform well because there's hedge funds or money managers that are looking to get into some of these stocks and they could power higher. So that's it. As far as my disclaimer on best stocks, there's really no such thing as best. It's stocks that look good and may power higher into 2024. All right, so the first one I want to start with is going to be PayPal. One of the reasons I'm looking at PayPal is because we've had kind of a rough 2022. We've also had a fairly sideways or downward 2023. And if this thing can hold this 50, which we're kind of been going on right here, this 50 has been a line in the sand. And if we can get above that level and start reversing and correcting some of this course, meaning create this rounding area, it could actually go into some higher prices. Overall, the stock did perform well, between 2016 and 2021. I mean, look at that growth. Now we had some nasty movement in about 2021 and 2022, but it's kind of due for maybe a turnaround if things shape up and things do get better with the company. It takes a couple of years for these large companies to make some turnarounds. So that's why I'm looking at one of those. The next one I'm also checking out is possibly Exxon Mobil. Now, the reason I'm looking at this one is a fairly strong mover. I mean, even from 2020 here and 2021, you can see between 2020, boom, down. Didn't really do much those years, but really when you look at it from those bounces, it did quite well in 2021 to 2022. So those look good for this year. There's that year. Then the next year here, when we look at this, 2023, you can see the growth was kind of subtle. So now what I'm looking at is we've had some sideways growth here recently. And the reason I'm looking at it now is, again, it may not be the best one out there right away for 2024 from the lows, but we've had this recent pullback quite a bit. And we're coming into some support level, possibly around this 97. So if things do shape up with some energy, this one could look pretty good for the future. Next one I want to take a look at is Disney. I mean, this Disney stock has had some trouble. Looking at it from the weekly, in 2020. I mean, just look at this move. Even there in 2020, one thing I want to point out, look at this 2020 move to 2021. That move from here to here was not that big, but if you got it somewhere when the stock was at a panic, you actually had a pretty significant growth. And that's my point at the beginning of this video, talking to you about, depending on when you enter the stock, actually could have some significant performance, because if you got in it right there, you only had a 15% growth. But if you got it in somewhere not even near the lows, but even after a massive sell-off, you could have had an 84% growth. Now, this stock has pulled back quite a bit, and I've been nibbling in different spots. You can see that with the ends for notes over there. So I've been nibbling in different zones here, but coming into around 80 is becoming some support levels. And when you start watching this stock, you can see it's starting to look for a little bit of a base. And if we can, again, get that little turnaround after a couple of years of problems, you could say, we could start pushing higher. So we'll see if that actually pans out or not. It may or may not. We have no idea, but it's one to watch. Pfizer is another one I've been kind of keeping an eye on, nibbling in on it in a retirement account. This one's coming right back down into some multi-year $26 level lows. So if you check this out, 26 right here, line in the sand, even in 2015, we're coming right into there. So I don't think this one is going to perform amazing in 2024. I think it's going to perform okay and well because it possibly is just oversold. But these things could last for a while. Because look, if you look at 2022 to 2023 right here, we didn't really do that well on the stock. And then from 2023, we pulled back quite a bit. So my thinking is we're going to get a counter trend bounce temporarily, maybe to 36. And that's kind of what I'm watching, because we're coming right into about that 34, 36 level, where you could get a lot of resistance. And that's where, hey, for $6 for this stock, that's pretty significant. But you're creating some lows all the way back to 2015. And that's why I'm kind of keeping an eye on this one, along with CVS. CVS is another one that's also, when you watch this one, from 2022 to 2023, we had this move. And then the next part we had 2023, we've kind of already started that move to the upside. And that is possibly because in 2023, we really just had some sideways action in it. So we're starting to push into some higher prices. And that's looking fairly good as far as prices go, because we're creating some higher prices in the movement. And that's looking good, right? We're clearing some resistance here temporarily. And this run could be the first half or the first quarter where things are actually looking good, and then maybe that stock will sell back off. But the point is right now that's kind of one thing that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. Next one is kind of the big boy Walmart, also one that sold off here recently towards the back half of 2023. We had this nasty move, which took out almost 6 months worth of gains. So the stock was in June at that same price. We came back, and now we've actually sold off into that 150, coming right back into it to 160. And I think we can get some more stability here because you're holding back around that 154 level. And the last one I want to point out, again, it's not one that's on a lot of people's radar, is LVS and also the WIN. LVS, when we look at the weekly here in 2023, didn't really do too much. Like if you look at 2023, it's kind of right there. Even in 2022, these stocks haven't really performed much at all. And I'm not saying this is going to be a huge performer, but what I like about this here at the start of the year is it's starting to break with volume picking up. So this one's looking very interesting right off the bat from the first day. WIN also was doing quite well. Also got some volume here, clearing this level. And they're both doing well. And I did take some positions on them, as you can see with the end for notes there. So I took in some vertical positions. So we'll see how they perform and behave. Who knows? Maybe they'll win, maybe they won't. I mean, you've had some good runs here in 2023 with stuff like A&F. I mean, just look at that run. Even Ross was doing fantastic. And here's Boeing. Here's the other point I want to mark, because for 2023, most of the beginning of this stock was just sideways. But then I was watching it right here. on this descending trend line. It was just a clean cut move, getting in on some positions here. This was a big move to the upside. So my point is that some stocks can do a phenomenal move and run simply if you're catching them at the right time. And even though in 2023, it didn't really perform phenomenally, right? When you look at it, the performance of that isn't like Microsoft, but if you caught it at the right time, it still did quite well because that's only a 19% growth. Whereas over here, when you look at it, you've got a 41%. So my point is that, looking at these things is just look at how you allocate and spread money. Be disciplined to be patient for setups and opportunities. You're not going to want to do everything all in this one spot, right from, hey, January 1st, invest all your money, or January 2nd. Instead, you want to spread your money in different zones, different areas, different quadrants. Keep those emotions kind of out of play. And as you spread your capital, you'll be better off, because then you'll be able to hit and find opportunities like this. And it might not come till November. It might not come to June. As far as the news goes, I mean, a lot of those things, they're trying to look at this, just the number side of from the lows or the start of today to the end of the year. And that's all nice to discuss. But remember what the news does is they're trying to hit your amygdala to get you to respond to some emotional things in the discussion. For me, I'm just looking at, hey, what are some nice stocks and opportunities to look for in 2024? These are some right now that are showing up, but later on, you might see stuff like Boeing that'll show up where they sold off quite a bit, and then you might power higher. So you don't know what those things may come up. As far as the video title goes, yeah, hey, it's going to get a certain search results based on the best stocks to look at, and I could get more emotional about it and tell you that this is the stock to buy. But what you really got to do is look at the opportunities that present themselves and match your style, your strategy, your risk tolerance of what makes sense for you. It's not about just finding the best stock right here, January 2nd, running all to the way to the end. And instead, you got to spread your money. Otherwise, if you put all your money in right now and stocks sell off, it's a bad move. Instead, spread your capital, spread your money, and you'll be a lot better off. Anyways, enjoy 2024. Thank you so much for all the comments and posts that you guys write in. Feel free to write in some stock examples or stock ticker symbols you want me to review and recap, and I'll be happy to do that. Feel free to also check out tradingwebinars.co. There's a lot of great freebie webinars on there and PDFs and checklists to download. Thanks again. Enjoy the year ahead. I wish you great success, happiness, love, and health, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.